This is going to be a promissory note 101. Promissory notes for dummies. They'll be going over a lot of basics. I've done many of these videos on my last channel that got wiped. I obviously struck a nerve somewhere. All I know is they've said I've breached some community guidelines somewhere. I haven't been given a reason why I'm appealing it. But anyway, probably not going to get all those videos back. So I'm going to start again. Promissory notes 101. Promissory notes are cash. And cash is promissory notes. So if you follow this plan and you take out a self-liquidating loan and you pay it with a promissory note and they're going to say you haven't, that's what you're playing for a standoff. You know, you've reached a standoff. You saying you paid it in cash. They saying you haven't. Well, you've got a civil dispute now. Are they going to take you to court? Or, I mean, the police can't get involved with a civil dispute. Do they want to take you to court? Fine. What are you taking me to court for? Now, are you saying I haven't paid in cash? They're not sure about it. Yes. Okay. Are you saying you haven't received it? No, they're saying they received a promissory note. Ah, so you're saying a promissory note is not cash. Are you saying that? Are you challenging the Bills of Exchange Act? You know, the question is, what is cash? Is this cash? Does it meet the requirements of cash in the Bills of Exchange Act? They're not sure about that. They don't want to take you to court for that. That's never been done. No one's ever successfully taken someone to court and said, no, they're challenging what is cash. That's never been done. Lord Denning's case, it was kind of touched upon, but the conclusion of that was promissory notes are cash and they have to be honoured as such, as long as it meets all the requirements of what is cash, what is a promissory note. This is a precedent that has been set. Promissory notes are cash, cash is promissory notes. So, I'm going to go right from the beginning now about what is cash. What's the difference between cash and money? They're different. Money is different. There's only two things ever been money in all of history for thousands of years: gold and silver. They are money. The definitions of money, they've got to be all these things, you know, divisible, portable, fungible. Fungible means a gram in my pocket is equal to a gram in your pocket, or a unit in your pocket is equal to, they're not different. Like diamonds aren't fungible. You can't have my diamond is equal to all other diamonds. No, that's not, diamonds aren't fungible. It's got to be durable, it's got to be divisible, portable, unit of account, recognized medium of exchange, and it's got to be a lasting store of value over thousands of years. There's only two things that are that: gold and silver. There's other things that have been lasting store of value over thousands of years that haven't gone to nothing, but they're not fungible, they're not divisible, not portable, not, you know, land is a long-term store of value, but that's not portable. You can't put it in your pocket and pay for things with it. So only gold and silver are money. Now, lots of things have been currency. Loads of things have been currency over the seashells, you know, salt is currency, isn't it? Salt, you know, all kinds of paper, certificates, promissory notes, tally sticks, it's like a promissory note, little beads, little stones on the beach. Loads of things have been currency. Currency is not a long-term store of value over thousands of years. You know, salt has been used as currency, but you try paying a taxi driver in salt today, you know, it's not going to work. So salt is not money, salt is currency. Promissory notes, paper, either tally sticks, or back in ancient Babylon it was clay tablets with "I promise to pay the bearer on demand this much." A tally stick was a promise to pay. There are little marks in it. It's a promise to pay. This is currency. Paper promissory notes goes way back to before paper was invented. They used the bark of trees. Like I said, it was slate with writing on, or clay tablets, and then the bark of trees. The ancient Khans, like the great Khans, the kings, emperors in Asia, they had paper made of barks of trees. "I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of this," and that was a promissory note. And then papyrus, the first forms of paper, and the other forms of paper. Today it's not even paper, this is plastic. This promissory note is plastic. So there's this cycle that has repeated all through history, and I'm going to really simplify it. I know critics say, no, that's not quite right, it didn't happen like that. I'm oversimplifying it. There's differences every time. The first stage of the cycle is promissory notes that are convertible for gold and silver. It's the only way you can get confidence in these promissory notes. They come out with a promissory note and it says, "I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of £5 sterling silver," and this is convertible for £5 of sterling silver. £5, like it's about 2.5 kilos. £5 of silver is convertible for this. It's the only way to get confidence. You've got confidence in 2.5 kilos, you know, £5 in weight of silver. Of course you've got confidence in that. You haven't got confidence in this. But what if it's convertible for it? And you can convert it at the end of the week, or the end of the month. You take it in, you slap it down. "Please give me what this note promises." It says on it, "I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of £5 sterling silver." You slide it over and you get £5 of sterling silver. Well, now you've got confidence in this. And at the marketplace, you could either pay in £5 of silver, or you could pay a promissory note. They're as good as each other. And you've got confidence in the promissory note. That's an honest system. That's a sound, honest monetary system. As long as the cunning men, the bankers, do not create more promissory notes than they have gold and silver to convert it for, it's an honest system. So if everybody all at the same time all took all of their silver in, sorry, they take all their promissory notes into the bank, they take them all in at the same time, please can I have what this note promises, and they all get that amount of silver out, then it's honest. And this is what the chief cashier of the Bank of England, her name is Sarah John, this is what she says. Watch what she says here. First I'll explain it first, and then you can watch it. She was asked by this Hollywood actor, Idris Elba. He says, take me back. Why does he's standing in the Bank of England bank vault, you'll see it now, surrounded by gold. Why does the Bank of England need to hold so much gold? That's the question. Why does the Bank of England need to hold so much gold? And he says, take me back, talk me through it. So she says, well, gold and silver have been used as money for as long time as I just said. It is money. But what people found was gold and silver is heavy, it's cumbersome, it's inconvenient. So they could take their gold to the bankers, or the goldsmiths, the cunning men, and they would issue them a promissory note, or an IOU. And then what people found was the IOU is more convenient to use than lugging around heavy gold and silver coins. Watch what she says here.
It turned into, okay, the bank needs to hold this much gold. What was the process? Like, take me back.
So obviously gold's been used for quite a number of years as a form of money. First of all, gold coins themselves. But the problem with gold coins is they're actually quite heavy to carry around.
Can't flip it, no.
Exactly. So what people started to do was they would take their gold coins to a goldsmith, and the goldsmith would issue them with an IOU.
Okay.
And over time, people realised that actually using those IOUs to pay for goods and services was actually easier than actually going and getting the gold and lugging it around.
Okay.
And those IOUs eventually developed into what we now know as banknotes.
That's fascinating, isn't it? See this? Just there? That's Sarah's signature. With the words, I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of £20. It's just an IOU.
It's just an IOU. It's just a promissory note. And I think what she said was right. You know, it's very deceptive, and you probably noticed the on-purpose half-truths, but she's correct. And it is more convenient. If you're a Bedouin traveller, or if you're just, you know, you're going to the marketplace, you're a trader, or just a housewife going shopping, it is more convenient. Promissory notes are more convenient, as long as they are honest. But the on-purpose half-truth, she was asked the question, why does the Bank of England have to hold so much monetary precious metal? And the answer was, well, she talked through the monetary cycle. The promissory notes are more convenient. That answers the question to why the Bank of England has to hold so much gold and silver. Are you saying, Sarah John, because it's your signature on here, are you saying that if everyone brought their promissory notes into the bank, they could convert them for gold and silver? That appears to be what she's saying, but she wants people to be confused by that. No, because that is only in stage 1 of the monetary cycle. Promissory notes convertible for gold and silver. That's an honest, sound monetary system. The cunning men cannot create more promissory notes than they have gold and silver. But what if they did? What if they said, I don't think everyone all at the same time is going to come and swap their promissory notes for gold and silver. We could just expand the supply a little bit, and we get very wealthy, and people have confidence in these promissory notes. Now, what if they doubled the amount of promissory notes in supply secretly, and nobody questions it? The system would carry on. Everyone's using promissory notes. You know, some percentage are going and converting them for silver. You're still in stage 1, but nobody notices. Now, how much is a £5 note worth? If there's only the right amount of £5 notes in supply as there is £5 of silver, they are equal, they are the same. What if there's double the amount of £5 notes? What if there's twice the amount of £5 notes in available supply? Then really, £5 of silver should cost £10, shouldn't it? It should cost 2 of these. It should, shouldn't it? And if this expanded in supply 10 times the amount, you need 10 of these to buy £5 of silver. But they don't. They secretly expand the supply of these, and the cunning men get very wealthy and very powerful. And then they want to confuse the minds of the masses. Just keep using the promissory notes, keep having confidence in them. And silver now, you can still go and convert one £5 note for silver, but they know if everybody did it, there's not enough silver to meet all the £5 notes out there. So they have to go to stage 2. They make an announcement, something along the lines of, we've suspended convertibility of the promissory notes for gold and silver. That is stage 2. Now, in stage 2, a £5 note is not convertible for £5 of silver. It's suspended convertibility. So how much is £5 of silver worth? It's not the same as £5 promissory note. How much is £5 of silver worth now? We're going to have to manipulate it. We're going to have to manipulate this and manipulate this. It used to be a day before the announcement, it was £5 it was worth. But now it needs to go up a little bit because there's more £5. But don't make it go all the way up to meet the supply. If there was 10 times the amount of these in available supply, then it would be £50 in promissory notes to buy £5 of silver. They can't have that. So they'll make it just a little bit more. They can make it £6 and keep expanding supply of this, but help people to be confused. And it's a big, massive psychological operation to make people confused about this. And then they can expand the supply of this exponentially. And the price of silver just keeps going up a little bit, but expand the supply of this far more. The cunning men get very wealthy. Very, very wealthy and powerful. This always ends in stage 3. All the times this cycle is repeated in history. Stage 3 is gold and silver revalue up to account for the expanded supply of promissory notes. Gold and silver have always done this every time the cycle repeats. Gold and silver do an accounting, and they account for however many promissory notes have been added to supply since the last time the cycle repeated. And I'm saying 2026, we're in stage 3. The whole world is in stage 3. I'm going to say why it's the whole world, because this cycle is repeated in different parts of the world, Asia and all these different places. Now, ancient Greece, ancient Rome, and the northwest part of the Roman Empire was Britannia. That later joined with America, became the Anglo-American world power. And there was, before the wars, this cycle repeated. And then the First World War, we know the hyperinflation in Germany and other places. And then between the First World War and the Second World War, this cycle repeated. They went stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. After stage 3, gold and silver revalue up to account for all the promissory notes added to supply. There's always chaos. There's usually hyperinflation, or it might collapse before that, but the promissory notes go to their true value, which is nothing. All currency goes to nothing or almost nothing. It's a little bit of value in it. You could burn it, you could, I don't know, a bit of paper, but it's pretty much nothing. And then gold and silver go to their true value. The true value of silver is 3.1 grams is a 12-hour day's wage. That's the true value when the manipulation ends, every time the cycle repeats. So back in ancient Greece, it was a drachma, 1/10 of a troy ounce. A troy ounce is 31.1 grams. A 1/10 of an ounce is 3.1 grams. A 1/10 of a troy ounce is 12-hour days labor. In ancient Rome, it was the denarius, again, 3.1 grams. A little coin about the size of a penny. That is a 12-hour day's wage. That's a true value every time the manipulation ends. And then the cycle repeats. After the chaos, nobody they don't know what to use as a medium of exchange. There's barter, the hyperinflation, the currency that's gone to nothing. And then someone comes along and they try and introduce new promissory notes. There's no confidence in it. They have to go to stage 1 again. Promissory notes convertible for gold and silver. So that was between the First World War and the Second World War. We had the 1929, the Roaring 20s, and then the Great Depression lasted a while. Then the Second World War started. Chaos, absolute chaos. It's always chaos up to stage 3. And after the Second World War, 1945, they brought in the new monetary system, a brand new worldwide global monetary system. It was called Bretton Woods, and this was a brand new monetary system now. And the whole world went on it. This is the first time ever, the whole world at one time. In the past, it was just one place after another. So, Britain, America, and all the world, they all had promissory notes that are convertible for gold and silver through the US dollar. And that was from 1944, 1945, up until 1971. That was stage one. The promissory notes are convertible for gold and silver. August 15th, 1971, Nixon was given a speech to read by the cunning men, and he said, "I've instructed Secretary Connolly to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the promissory notes into gold and silver and other reserve assets." This is what he said. So now, August 15th, 1971, the whole world is in stage 2 of the monetary cycle. I say stage 2 has lasted. That's promissory notes that are suspended convertibility. You can't convert them for money anymore. Now there's no limit how much they can expand the supply. They will expand the supply into the quadrillions. Can you imagine that? It's not trillions, it's quadrillions. How many promissory notes are in supply? And it keeps expanding until we go to stage 3. I think 2026 will be officially in stage 3 for those who are awake to this. Stage 3 is gold and silver start to revalue up to meet the quadrillions. They start slowly. Silver's like $60, $70, gold's like $4,500. They will keep going up to meet where they should be, as if when they go to stage 1, one promissory note is convertible for that weight of gold or silver. If they expanded the supply of this, silver should have revalued up. As they keep expanding it should revalue up to keep pace with it. If there's 10 times the amount of these in supply, then you'd need 10 of these to buy one that weight of silver. And now it's in the quadrillions. Gold and silver are going to go up to they're going to meet that. But before we get there, it's going to be chaos. There's going to be a collapse of the system, end of empire, and the chaos often war, terrible things. And then after the chaos, there'll be several attempts to rejig the system, as always happens in history when this repeats. Then they'll go back to stage 1 again. There'll be some kind of new monetary system convertible for gold and silver. So where we are now, I'm talking now pretty much at the end of stage 2, slowly the start of stage 3. But stage 3 can last years for gold and silver to account all the way up. The good news is when you understand that promissory notes are money, sorry, I got that wrong, that promissory notes are cash, and cash is promissory notes. They are notes that promise money. That's what this is. This is a note that promises money. You can write promissory notes and it is cash. Now, I only help people if there's no loss, harm or injury. So any situation you want to use this for, and there's not many situations where you can use it for, it's only if there's no loss, harm or injury, not if somebody loses something. What situations can you use this and nobody loses anything? Well, any time you're dealing with the cunning men, the financial institutions, the banks, the cunning men, the banksters. So if you take out an unsecured personal loan, it has to be less than 30,000, over 30,000, different rules apply. You can't just self-liquidate it. Under 30,000, you can do a self-liquidating loan. If you ask banks, do self-liquidating loans exist? They will always say no. Where did you hear that? Someone like that David Silver guy, one of the truthers. It's spelled T-R-O-O-F-S. Truths, you know, truthers. They mock people like me for spreading these truths. Now, they will say self-liquidating loans don't exist, but they do exist, and those who are educated about it do this all the time. You can do a self-liquidating loan for less than 30,000. You have to get a loan for, say, 29,000, whatever it is, 25,000, whatever you can get. And make sure it's an unsecured person. It won't work for mortgages or business secured loans, anything like that. It has to be unsecured. Within 14 days, it's something called a cooling off period. You can write in. Before I get there, I want to just clarify why there's no loss, harm or injury. When you take out this loan, say £29,000, you might be mistakenly thinking there would be loss. You're going to self-liquidate that. No, nobody loses anything. The reason I can be so confident with this, because if you ask them, have the funds been transferred to my account? If they said yes, they would be lying. But no, they don't say that. They say, the funds will appear in your account, Mr. Jones. They will appear in my account. Where were they before they appeared? That's the question. Where were they before they appeared? Well, they didn't exist. Who created those digital promissory notes out of thin air? Was it you or the lending institution? The answer is, it was you. You created them. You expanded the currency supply by £29,000. You created those funds. So if that's true, who owns those 29,000 units of currency? Is it you or the lending institution? Well, it's you. You created them. You expanded the world's monetary supply by £29,000. And yet the lending institution is trying to charge you interest on the funds you created. So I'm just making the point that nobody loses anything. There is no loss, harm, or injury. There's no loss. So, sorry, there's a lot of noise outside. Family's having fun with the dog. There is no loss, harm, or injury if you use this system. So you write to them within 14 days. Thank you very much. I don't want the loan after all. I would like to pay it in full in cash. Please find and close this promissory note. Now, there's a lot of other questions that you're going to go through. There's lots of things that I'll help you with it now, about which bank you do it with, which lending institution you use, keeping your current account. There's many things you have to consider, and you have to understand these before you go into this, because some situations you can't do it. It's got to be unsecured. You're playing for a standoff. You're playing for a draw. You're playing for a civil dispute, and it might affect different things. So you have to please have a consultation with me. I'll talk you through it before you start this. You take the £29,000. It goes into your account. It appears in your account. You created it. I'd say take it out. I'd say buy silver anonymously and privately. But that's another matter. We'll talk about that. But then you write this cover letter. I've got the cover letter, which I'll send you. Thank you very much. I don't want the loan anymore. Please find and close this promissory note. Now, this promissory note says on it very clearly, I got it like this so you can read it, and I'm going to read from this side. It says, I irrevocably and unconditionally promise to pay the bearer the sum of, and you write it in, £29,000 in the same manner and form as would be the Bank of England at the time of payment. The enclosed £5 banknote accompanies this promissory note to affirm its equivalence to a lawful instrument of payment, serving as full and final settlement of any outstanding obligations in accordance with the Bills of Exchange Act. This note is issued in compliance with the Bills of Exchange Act 1882 and constitutes an irrevocable and unconditional promise to pay. Now, the unconditional part is very important because in the Bills of Exchange Act, it cannot be conditional. The Bills of Exchange Act has never been repealed. It sets out the requirements of what is cash. There's things that for a promissory note to be considered cash, it needs to have all the things on it. It's got to have the promise on it, signed by Sarah John. It's got to have the promise, I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of £5. It's got to have the signature, Sarah John signs it. It's got to be an unconditional promise. This is unconditional. This is an unconditional promise to pay. And it's got to be delivered. If I put this in the drawer, you haven't expanded the world's currency supply yet. Until it's delivered, you have to have proof of delivery. And I'll talk about that. It's so essential. You have proof. Sometimes they're so childish. They say, no, we didn't receive it. They're trying that. You know, I say I paid you in cash. They say, no, you didn't. Are you saying you didn't receive it? If they try and say you didn't receive it, you have to prove they've received it on this date and somebody signed for it. It was received. And you prove what was in the envelope. Or they're trying to say it's not cash. That's what we'll talk about now. So you send this off. You sign it. This is so important. Have the £5 note wrapped around it. So if it's £29,000, you would write up here £28,995. It's got to be in numbers and in words, and you have to sign it. It's essential. It's signed. That's one of the requirements for a promissory note to be treated as cash. You send them with a covering letter. You can prove they've received it. Now, first level of resistance, they're going to just write low level person, or it might be a automated response. Sorry, we don't accept promissory notes. Something like that. I'd say 80% of the time they keep it. 20% of the time, in my experience, I've been doing this for years now, helping people. 20% of the time they send it back to you. Fine, send it back. Don't go and send it to them again. Like, come on, you've got to keep it. No, you have paid it in cash. Now, if they keep it, they give it to their mum, they give it to you, they burn it, throw it away. It doesn't change the fact that you have paid them in cash and you've dig your heels in. Damn it, you've paid them in cash on this date. Nothing else will change that fact. It's an indisputable fact. Are they disputing that they didn't receive it? They will try and dispute that. They're in a bind now because they know it's got the £5 wrapped around it. You know, they cannot refuse even part payment. If they try and refuse this one, they can't. They can't refuse. If you wanted to pay £1, they can't refuse part payment. They can't refuse that. And if they refuse this one, well, they can't. So they can't refuse this one. But if they accept this one, which they have to, they've accepted this one, and they're in a bind. I've had all sorts of different situations, people I've helped over the years. They've said we might destroy it, we might throw it away. Very few times, I'd say less than 1% of the time, maybe 1% of the time, a couple of times they cut this out and they keep this one and send this one back. That's very rare. 80% of the time they just keep it, 20% they'll send it back to you. Either way is fine. So now they're in a bind. They know they can't accept. What are they going to do? They're going to try, you're playing chess now. They're going to try and make a move, you make a move, and you're playing for a standoff. You're playing for draw, stalemate. where you're moving the king around the board, check, 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 and they can't get you into checkmate. They can't. And you can't really get them into checkmate. Sometimes you can, very rarely, and I'll be really openly honest now. Some of my clients, in a short space of time, they've just marked the loan as settled. That's checkmate. You've got checkmate. But most of the time, that doesn't happen. So bear that in mind. You haven't got checkmate. You've reached a standoff. They're saying you haven't paid it. You're saying you have. But you've still got the £29,000. And they're saying you haven't. Look, if you think this is not cash, I'm saying I paid you in cash. You're disputing that. Once, actually, one time, we admit you did pay in cash, but we don't accept this cash. And that was very rare. But either way, it's a standoff. You've had success. You've got the £29,000. You've reached a standoff. This is what you were playing for. You were playing for a standoff. I'll just conclude this, and I'm going to do more information about this later. There was an episode of Star Trek where Data was playing chess with this alien creature who was very good at this futuristic chess game. Couldn't beat him. No matter what he did, Data couldn't beat him. So he changed what he was playing for. And he just kept the game going. Check, 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 check. Couldn't get him into checkmate. Instead of trying obvious forms of advancement, he would just keep defending, keep the game going. And the alien guy got all frustrated. This is not a game. You made a mockery of me. It's not a rematch. And he stormed off. And they all said to him, Data, you beat him. He said, no, I didn't beat him. I was playing for a standoff, a draw. And he got frustrated and gave up. And that's what you're doing with this. You've got a civil dispute. You're playing for a standoff. They'll probably get frustrated and give up. And you keep the £29,000. A lot more to follow.
I was playing for a standoff, a draw, while